Today I'm going to be showing you how to do those really cool snazzy page transition animations with the help of Barba.js. Hey everybody, what's up? Gary Simon here. So today we're going to be checking out something called Barba.js, and it helps you create badass, fluid, and smooth transitions between your website's pages. All right, so I actually covered something similar to this a while back called Swup.js. I'll try to remember to link it, but does essentially the same thing. And just to give you an example of the type of things that you can do, they have a showcase section on their site. And so for instance, here's a cool example. This is Mozilla.design. So you can just do cool sort of animations between your pages. Here's another one. Let me scroll down and click on one of these. You could do just an endless amount of things in terms of transitions and animation. So also I will be showing you how to use and integrate GSAP, which is the GreenSock Animation Platform, to handle the animation portion of this. So it helps you create an SPA, single page application with these sort of easy to integrate animations. Also, just as a final note, right here, the code that I produce is very much similar to the code example featured at this URL. I'm going to link this in the description. So thank you to Karan. It was kind of hard for me to find up-to-date tutorials for this to figure out how to get it working. All right, so as always, make sure to subscribe and let's get started. Before we begin, there's never been a better time to try Linode. From now until May 31st of 2020, Linode is giving every single account access to object storage for free. That's right. Whether you create an account all the way back in 2003 or even just today, you can take advantage of free object storage until April 30th of 2020. What is object storage, you might ask? Well, object storage is an easy way to store and access data without the need for running a server. It's perfect for data that doesn't regularly change, like images and other multimedia files, important backups, or giant archives for servers that might need more storage space. One of the best use cases for object storage is hosting your own static website. You can have a site up and highly available on Linode's object storage with as little as an HTML and CSS file. To give object storage a try for free and get an additional $20 on your new Linode account, sign up at linode.com/design course. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, in order for this to work, the body tag has to have a data-barber equals wrapper around it. Now, just to preface this real quickly, I just have a boilerplate HTML here in Visual Studio Code. I have a main.sas file that I am not watching yet. There we go. So you have to get the live SAS compiler plugin over here in the plugin section. I'm also going to be right-clicking, opening with live server. And all right, there that is, and we're good to go. Okay. So yeah, nothing fancy happening here. Now what I want to do initially is just get our HTML defined. There's not much of it. So we're going to have a just an overall div class wrapper. This isn't specific to Barba or anything. I'm just choosing to have a wrapper around everything. We're going to have a header. So all this stuff that we're doing right now, the navigation is going to be outside of the main area where all the content is dynamically placed by Barba. So we're just going to specify a very simple navigation. Here we go. And this is going to say home. We will shift alt down, and this will just say services. And this will go to services.html. Okay. And that's all we have for our header. So we're going to after header, we're going to come down. And this part is specific to Barba. Basically, we're going to put things in a main element, data-barba, not barber, container. All right. And then data-barba namespace. So each page will have its own unique namespace. So this is the home page. We're going to name it home. All right. And then we're going to do div class left here, h1. We're going to say an ongoing experience. I don't know. I just came up with a stupid sort of headline. And then we're going to do an href. This is going to go to services.html as well. And we're going to give it a class of CTA and a call to action to take me there. If I can type. All right. We'll also have just an image source. This is going to go to photo.jpg, alt. It's like a photo of like an interior. We have two of them. Here's one, and then here's the other. All right. After that is nothing else. That's our very simple page. So, of course, if we save this, it's going to look like garbage because we haven't done the HTML. But we need to get our script source in here, the various JavaScript files here. So just down here, we're going to import through a CDN the Barba core, which you can use npm as well as yarn to install if you want a more robust setup. We're also going to get in GSAP. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with GSAP, which is an acronym for GreenSock Animation Platform, I've already done a tutorial on GreenSock or GSAP 3.0 at least, and you can learn more about that. And then finally, we will link up a non-existent index.js from which we will create not right now, right there. All right, so let's get the CSS out of the way. In order for us to understand exactly what's happening, just real quickly, we're going to go over CSS. Some of it I'm just going to copy and paste in, like the HTML body property. We're going to have the body property itself with the font family of Montserrat. I already have it installed on my system. I'm not going to bother importing it at the top. It's not too pertinent to this tutorial. Height, 100 viewport height, and just a real light gray background color. Okay. Our wrapper is going to have just some padding, 1em unit. We are going to... let me move things over. We are just going to, I don't know why I bothered, but I decided to do like a mobile first approach here, just to show you that this does work on mobile, of course. And so now we're also going to have our UL element. I'm going to paste in these, list style none. That's all that does. Nothing exciting going on up there. And then we will also have all the links. So we're just saying text decoration none, color black. Our list items at the top specifically, we're just moving them over a little bit. I'm not doing anything fancy at all. No hamburger menus right now. Our H1 element, increasing the size there. Our call to action class. All right, that's all that's doing. Nothing fancy right there. Our image is going to disappear, because I'm using a clip path polygon. And so basically what that does is it hides it because we're going to animate the clip path using GSAP, if that makes sense. If I take this out, this is what it'll look like by default. Very, very simple stuff. We'll add that back. Also our UL transition, all right? So our unordered list of transition. So what this is, oh, I haven't added that yet. Let's get there. So I'm going to create here, I'm just going to paste this in, this unordered list transition. And basically this is, you can come up with any number of ways to create some type of overlay animation effect if you want something like that. That happens when you click on to another page. So like something will cover the page and then reveal. So this is just 5 empty list items. And my idea was to have them like each one kind of through a sequence or stagger animation come up and then come back down, whatever. So now if I save that and we go back to our main Sass, I can go ahead and paste this next 2 rule sets in. All right, so what we're doing is we're taking each one of these to display flex. It's a position absolute. Display flex, by the way, will take those 5 elements and situate them right to the right of each other. Z index needs to be high. Height is 100 viewport height. Width 100% of the UL element. Top left margin 0, pointer events none, to make sure that we can click to these areas because it's going to be sitting on top. And then UL transition LI, we have a transform of scale Y to take it vertically all the way down. And background's white, and then just the width. I had to put the width to 20% to get that to work. Right now we can't see anything though, but this is pretty much it. I decided to also add in a media query for desktop and larger, well not larger than the desktop, but a larger viewport width. So I'm just gonna paste that in. So we have at minimum width 650 pixels. We just take the main element and we display flex it, which is gonna create a 2-column layout. Margin top, position relative, because we do have an element that the call to action I put as a position absolute. Let's just save this. And this is what we have so far. Again, we can't see the image right here. So nothing, that's specific to the purpose of this tutorial is happening here. So now what we're going to do is focus on the actual JS, which is why you're even here. All right. So Again, I got this this basic code set up from the individual I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and we're going to start first just with the Barba init to initialize it. And so we're going to say Barba.init, and we're going to open that up, and we have an object here. We're going to set sync to true. So that means if this is going to be set to work asynchronously, it's true, and then you can also set it up to work synchronously as well. Let me get out, here we are, this right here. So you can see that, let me do a search here for sync. So hooks can either be run synchronously or asynchronously. So we're using the async pattern here. And of course, you're going to have a lot more information if you just look at the documentation. These right here, these hooks, they give you a lot of options for applying animations and when to apply them. So we're just going to use a couple of these, such as enter and I believe one other, once as well, and leave. All right. So it allows you to create like leave animations and once they enter and all that good stuff. Also, we're going to have a transitions array of objects. All right. So transitions in an object, we're going to say async leave. Oh, that's not what we wanted. There we go. And then inside of here, create a constant of done in this .async. So if you're unfamiliar with asynchronous code, there's a lot of tutorials out there. Page transition, we haven't defined that yet. We also haven't defined a delay function, which is also gathered from that tutorial that I checked out. Why does it keep on doing it? That's very annoying. It's delay. Christ. Okay. So for that delay function, we're just gonna I'm gonna copy that and just put it up here as a function. All right. And then page transition, that is not supposed to be page transition event. You know, it's never done that to me before. That's a pain in the ass. All right, so page transition, all right? So this is gonna get called, and this is where we're going to define our GSAP animations, all right? So function page transition, up here, we're going to create a new timeline of GreenSock Animation Platform, so GSAP.timeline. And again, I have several videos on GSAP alone that you might want to check out. And then we say TL2. And for our case, I'm going to be, this is basically the area where the 5 list items come up and then hide from the page. All right, so that's a UL transition LI selector that we're going to specify there. So UL dot transition, and then we're specifying these list items. That's what we want to animate. So then we're going to go ahead and put in our properties to animate. Maybe hit Control B to get rid of that sidebar. There we go. So we're going to have a duration here of 0.5, also a scale Y of 1. Transform origin is going to be bottom and left. If you omit transform origin, it's going to come from the center, and it looks kind of weird because it'll scale from the center of the page vertically. I didn't want that. Stagger here is also going to be just 0.2. Now stagger, that means if there's multiple selectors, like multiple list items in this case, it won't animate them all at the same time. It's going to animate them with this stagger offset. So it does 0.2, it'll do the first one, and then 0.2 seconds, it'll do the next one, and then so on and so forth. So it'll do that 5 times. And then also, if we also need to take this, and we have to reference it one more time in order to hide it. All right, so that brings it up, the first one. The second one is going to go ahead scale Y 0. Same thing with the transform origin stuff. And we can also put a stagger along with a couple other properties. This one we're going to make it kind of go out faster. So this is when it comes down to reveal the next page, the intended page. We'll do delay 0.1. So we're just going to have a very slight delay there. All right, and that looks good. All right, and then we also have two other quick functions. We're almost done, by the way. Async enter. So that's one of the hooks that we can tie into. And we could say, and what am I doing here? I've got to put a comma. There we go. And this is where we can call another function where we can have something called content animation, whatever we want to name it. Oh, it did that again. Are you kidding me? There we go. All right. Async enter. This is going to be once. All right. So again, just refer to the documentation here. Again, we have once right here. Current page, the once transition. I believe that's in reference to when the page loads up, it'll animate based on this. So we're just calling the same function for enter and once. All right. Obviously, you can change those up to any number of different animations. All right. So, all right. That looks pretty good right here. Now, of course, we need to create a second page. All right, so the second page, normally you'd want to use some type of templating system, but we're not going to do that for this simple tutorial. We're going to do an index, or no, we're going to do a services.html. We're just going to paste this all in and just change a couple things up. All right, so this is, let's see here. I'm going to change this here. Let me look at my reference monitor real fast to make sure I'm putting everything in correctly. This is going to be, let's see, explore our services. I just want to change a couple things up just to make sure that take me home, we can say, and then we'll say index.html. All right, that looks pretty good. Oh, and also one other thing I forgot, we have to create the content animation function. So in here, this is where we can say, for instance, if we know that the index in HTML, they have a div class left, or they have any other similar HTML attributes, we can go ahead and animate those as we wish. So if I could talk, we'll go back to here and we'll use timeline again. So GSAP.timeline, and we're going to say TL from. We'll take our left column, which has our H1 element and such, and the call to action. We'll say duration is going to be 1.5. Translate Y will be 50, so it'll come from the bottom. And what else? Opacity 0. And then we'll also take our image. This is where we're going to animate the clip path property. And we're going to say 2. And we'll say image. The duration here is going to be nothing. It's going to be default duration. And we're going to say clip path. And I'm going to paste the next part in just because it's kind of lengthy. There we go. Now you're probably wondering where I got this from. I just went to Google and typed in clip path generator. And the clip path property that's currently set on the image selector in the CSS is basically a rectangle where it's completely flat, so you can't see it. That's why we can't see it currently in the CSS. This one is with the rectangle opened all the way up, so it's going to animate to this clip path right here. All right. So, oh, there we go. Okay, so that's it. So let's check this out. All right, let's go back to home here. All right, very cool. Now this, see, this right here, this graphic, it takes too long, and that's because I forgot to put an offset right here. So we can do an offset at the very end. So we put in negative equals and then 1.1 seconds. So now it's going to come in kind of a little bit after this one starts. Look at that. Very, 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 very cool stuff. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. If there's maybe a similar library that you want me to check out, or if you produce something with it, leave a comment and I will check it out as well, perhaps. All right. So as always, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.